Okay, so I'm as surprised as you are probably that this is my first video talking about Strider mode in particular and how to play it, considering the fact that my channel started out as a chronicling of my Strider mode campaign in the first place. Regardless, let's take an in-depth look at Strider mode, rules for solo role-playing for the One Ring RPG from Free League Publishing. Whether you're an experienced tabletop role player or just new to the genre of tabletop role-playing, you're probably confused as how one could play an RPG by themselves, as you've probably been playing or been invited to play with a handful of others sitting around a table or virtually through some form of virtual tabletop. I certainly was confused at the beginning about how one could go about playing a game primarily designed around group play. It was about 7 or 8 months after receiving the Kickstarter materials for the One Ring 2nd edition that I even heard about the Strider mode supplement, and said to myself, wait, you can play this solo? And on cracking open the PDF, reading through the booklet, started to wrap my head around it. I still had some reservations about playing it solo, but realized, at least at that time, that playing solo was the only way for me to really get to play the One Ring on a regular basis, and also test out the rules and play it before I even attempted to run at a gaming table. So, this may be a way for you to play this wonderful game while you wait for willing players to join you at the gaming table yourself. The Strider mode rules are collaboratively written by Sean Tompkins and Matt Click, and was a late unlocked stretch goal for the Kickstarter campaign. So we were very fortunate to get these rules in particular for the One Ring in the first place. Sean Tompkins has written a number of solo play tabletop RPGs, and you may already be familiar with them, Ironsworn, and his most recent publication called Starforged. Matt Click is a creator of the Mecha Hack, a TTRPG based on the Black Hack rules. Strider mode gives you a unique set of tools to play the One Ring by yourself, or if there are only two of you, cooperatively, taking the role of lore master and player yourself, to play out and explore Eriador and Middle-earth whenever you have the time, for however long you have it. The core of the rules generally does not change, so playing solo versus group play is an easy transition either way, and where it does differ is how you manage the lore master responsibilities of keeping the story going and even surprising you as you play out the plot driven by the actions you make as the player hero. I advise anyone just starting out playing tabletop RPG solo to check out a number of the YouTube videos out there on how others play it. For me, I started out with Matt's Strider mode play over on his channel at Three Skulls Tavern, and that kickstarted my solo play. If you haven't yet, check out my take on Strider mode here. The game when playing solo follows the same structure and format as group play. Basically, you play out what makes the adventuring phase, combat, councils, and journeys, and after 2 or 3 adventuring phases, you have a fellowship phase, so similar to the group style play. Here's where it differs. Page 4 of the supplement guides you in creating a specific solo play adventure, and here are the specific differences from a regularly generated adventure for group play. Previous experience. When allocating extra skill points during the creation process, use 15 points instead of 10 when starting. This represents the extra grit needed to venture into the wilds of Eriador alone. For your fellowship score, it's based 3, plus any additional bonuses from virtues, cultural blessings, and of course your patron of choice. This signifies your connection to your home community or communities you serve, a hope that the shadow cannot diminish. In this case, ignore the fellowship focus role when playing solo. Virtues. There's no specific rule, aside that you read each virtue carefully and consider what is useful to a solo play character. Some virtues give bonuses solely to those in a company and therefore wasted as a choice. Choose accordingly. In the end, choose what best fits your ideas for your player hero. New distinctive feature, Strider. This is a distinctive feature in addition to the ones you get when you first create your character, and grants you inspiration, when spending a hope point, on all skill rolls when you're on a journey. Patron. Patrons are an important aspect and choice for the lone hero, providing probably the initial motive or errand for your player hero to investigate, complete, or find more information about. Look carefully at the patrons, their bonuses granted, and once selected, roll on the patron quest table to get your first quest. For example, you choose Balin, son of Fundin, as your patron. You roll a success die and get a 4, which reads, a powerful comrade has fallen in the battle against the enemy. Who are they, and what did they carry vital to our survival? If you need some further help in deciding where to go and to investigate, roll on the lore or telling tables to prompt you in deciding where, or just choose a location on the map, and set forth. And who knows what you'll find when you venture out into the wilds. Another primary difference in Strider is the awarding of experience. In essence, how many skill and adventure points you get after finishing an adventure phase. The following table highlights the difference and is based on milestones reached or key events have taken place. Nothing is stopping you from using the normal experience allotted per session as in the core rulebook for group play, but because you may only play for a number of minutes here and there at any given time, when life permits you to play, this better reflects the continued growth and advancements of your character and not the in real life time played. Tweaks to the system. For action resolution, continue to use the rules presented in the core rulebook as normal. The only real difference is the target number that you would set for deciding if you succeed or not. For Strider mode, it's highly recommended, if not needed, to set your base attributes when making your solo player to a score from 18 rather than from 20, as per normal play group. The One Ring is difficult at the best of times with help, even more so when you're going about exploring Eriador and beyond by yourself. So for instance, if your strength score is a rating is a 4, instead of subtracting it from 20, subtract it from 18, giving yourself a 14, giving you a higher chance to succeed when playing solo. The only other difference when rolling to resolve an action is if you roll a Gandalf Ruin or an Eye of Sauron. That's where the first of the 3 core Strider mode tables come into play. Called the Fortune and aptly named Ill Fortune tables, these prompts help in providing you some unexpected events to play out during the course of your solo play. Adding the element of randomness to keep yourself guessing and you're on your toes about what's going to happen next. You'd be surprised about the path you intended to take get removed from you and you go down another. Rolling a Gandalf Room means a successful action was bolstered by fortune, whether it be an unexpected ally shows up to aid you, or a foe you've engaged in some form with suffers some folly. Roll on the fortune table to inspire you on what that actually may be. Rolling an Eye of Sauron is the opposite of rolling the Gandalf Rune, and if a failure on the action means your failure also has some ill fortune on your player hero's part. Breaking of your weapon. The terrain and weather makes the journey worse, or you face reinforcements in aid of your enemy. The ill fortune table is rolled to inspire what that ill fortune could be. Keeping with the action resolution, there's also some differences in the skills special success table and risk levels table that you would find in the core rulebook for group play. Here is the Strider mode skill special success table for when you roll success icons for a skill test. Gain insight, go quietly, make haste, widen influence, build advantage, and cancel a failure. Take note that gain insight, go quietly, make haste, and widen influence, and cancel a failure are the same as for group play. Score 1 additional success is removed, however, and build advantage is added for the Strider mode. Build advantage lets you carry forward an extra success die, or more, to improve your position or confidence for a related task, gaining 1d on your next skill roll for that success icon rolled. This is very important when running skill endeavors or councils as an example, as you will not now earn extra successes towards the total required to complete either, but rather you have a better chance at succeeding on the next roll. This presents a dilemma, of course, where if the resistance of the endeavor or council is high, and you only have a limited number of attempts available to succeed, you're likely not going to, and therefore must find some other way to pass, such as succeed with woe, or just plain giving up and trying some other venue, or in convincing the target of the council some other way. Another option as a solo player is to find a way better your chances or status in the eyes of the intended target in the council, keeping the resistance low at the start so as to give you the chance to succeed. Risk levels do not change when using Strider mode, but when assessing the risk level in particular, skill tasks refer to the telling table for the answer, which we'll cover how to use right now. The telling table is a tool that helps answer simple questions about locations, people, creatures, and events. Generally, the questions need to be basic, yes, no, or maybe. For a question when you as the player would generally ask a lore master during the group play, like, is there a path through the forest? Or, is there a blacksmith in this village? You as the solo player would refer to the telling table and ask that question. When you ask the question of the telling table, you must also set the chance, and which is normally middling, but depending on the situation, you can adjust to match the narrative being played out. Once you've set that chance level and asked the question, roll the feat die and reference the result to the table. You can see from the different chance levels, some will almost certainly be yes, while others will make you wonder why you even asked the question in the first place. Take note of the Gandalf and Eye of Sauron entries. Whether the answer is yes or no, think of a twist that would surprise you as the player. For example, you ask the question, is there a path through the forest? And you get the Gandalf result. Add a twist to the answer. Yes, there is a path, but by the looks of it, hasn't been used in quite some time, like months or years. Or, yes, and it looks like a wheeled cart was pulled through here recently. Adding that twist may bring out some more questions for you to ask and therefore more use of the telling table. That is left up to you, of course. Continue to use the telling table until you're comfortable and continue with the story you're playing out. Also, trust your gut. You don't always need to roll for the telling table. Sometimes you come up with something already without the need to roll randomly. Go with it. It's your game after all, and you need to have some fun with it. Ask yourself, do you want some randomness to it? Then roll. Otherwise, if you want something to happen as you intended, just run with it. So you're playing and now you've come to a point in the story where something unexpected has happened, or you can't come up with something on your own that you like to play out, and you need a little help in fleshing out some of the play with. That's where the lore table comes into play. The lore table helps you to reveal details, and unlike the telling table where you ask a yes, no, or maybe question, here you would ask open-ended questions about the particular situation or event you're being faced with. The lore table is helpful in fleshing out patron quests, what distinct feature a lore master character has that your hero has just encountered, or if your player hero has any connection to anyone sitting at a table at the Green Dragon Inn. There are 12 lore tables, each matching a number, or the Gandalf and Eye of Sauron runes on the feat dice. Each table has 3 columns, action, aspect, and focus, and one corresponding to the number on a success die. To use the lore table, you first ask an open-ended question like, what does the path look like that enters the woods? Or, what's the general feeling of the folk in this village? Or, what do I find in the abandoned farmhouse? For example, when asking the question, what do I find in the abandoned farmhouse, you figure that there isn't an action that would be answered here, but rather an aspect and a focus. We therefore roll a feat die and a success die together twice and match the results shown on the given table for each column. So for aspect, we get somber, and for focus, we get journey. So what does the results of the lore table actually give us? In general, you take a few moments to use the words prompted and think on what site, event, thing would closely match those words. Don't rush it. Take your time. It's your game after all. Usually something pops into your head after a few minutes, and in the case of aspect, somber, we get that our player hero, in this case Falco, finds within the abandoned house, once occupied by what appears to be a small family of farmers. But pools of dry blood are scattered throughout, and the doors show signs of claw marks, as if some creature of the wild forcibly entered into the dwelling. The thought of the events that had occurred casts a dark shadow over Falco, as he holds his hand to his mouth at the thought of what these poor souls experienced. As for the focus journey result, we think a little, and in matching the previous result, we find that Falco now notices a set of footprints, and another that seemed to run outside into the nearby wood. Did some fortunately escape the attack and find safety elsewhere? Falco decides to detour from his current journey and follow the path into the wood and find out. This simple but engaging process can really flesh out your solo play, and you'll quickly find that you'll be more surprised than not on what you come up with. As Gandalf says in the Fellowship of the Ring film from 2001, all I did was give your uncle a nudge out the door, and that is essentially what the lore tables do. Next, we have a specific journey events table for when your player hero is venturing into the unknown of Eriador, and it follows the same format and function as in group play, with some slight changes to the despair and adding in language to represent just the lone player versus the company. The other major difference is that the solo player will take on all roles of the journey, and so it would be tested on the appropriate skill, explore, awareness, or hunting. To help with this and in coming up with an event during solo play, There are individual tables for each event, from terrible misfortune to joyful sight. You as a solo player therefore roll a feat die on the event table, and referencing the appropriate events, roll a success die and compare the result. You're on a journey and are required to roll the event table. You're in the wildland and therefore roll 1 feat die. You roll a 10 and get chance meeting as your event. You now find the chance meeting event detail table and again roll a success die, rolling a 2, getting the follow traveler, explore, to learn about the path ahead. Your character then rolls the appropriate listed skill, and if a success, no fatigue is gained, and you envision a favorable encounter. Remember, if you need help, consult the lore table, as covered earlier, to help you envision such an encounter. Of course, if you, the hero, fails the skill roll, you may possibly still get the encounter, but no favorable or useful information is gained, and you gain that 1 fatigue point as listed in the event details. Again, remember, if you roll an Eye of Sauron, roll in the ill fortune table. That actually may even make this event even worse off for you. The optional rules for the Eye of Mordor. Going solo draws the attention of the eye less, but still can draw the attention for sure. If you want to use these optional rules during your solo play, make these following changes. The starting awareness should be at 0 and adjust as follows. Add 1 if you have a valor rating of 4 or more. Add 1 if you are a dwarf. Add 2 if you are an elf or a Dunedain. Add 3 if you are a high elf. And add 1 for each famous weapon and armor you carry. Whenever a die roll outside of combat rolls an eye, raise the awareness by 1, regardless of the success or failure. Whenever you gain a point of shadow or more, raise by that same number. Magical successes using a marvelous artifact or wondrous item may increase your eye awareness, and you can use the telling table to judge that. A result of an eye on the ill fortune table will raise the eye awareness by 2, in addition to the awareness added from the initial roll itself, further increasing the ill fortunes of your character. It definitely must be a Monday if that's the case. Revelation episodes are treated the same, as is the hunt thresholds and other modifiers for eye awareness, but the Strider booklet gives you another rollable table to help you determine the Revelation event, again, remembering to reference the telling and lore tables if you require it. There are a few changes for combat when playing in Strider mode. First, you'll be facing your adversaries alone, and will be looking for other ways to defeat a foe or just outright flee altogether. Furthermore, better to not get into combat if at all possible, but when those times do happen, there is a number of differences. First, there's a new stance called Skirmish. Skirmish stances provides you with the option to fight with a bow or a thrown weapon and fight on the move, exchanging range attacks while seeking advantageous positions from which to strike. Skirmish stance provides the following and is considered range combat. You can only attack your adversaries using a ranged weapon. Adversaries that attack you with melee weapons lose 1d, while those who attack you with ranged weapons suffer no penalty. For ranged attack rolls, you lose 1d. To escape from combat, roll for your ranged attack without losing the 1d on the roll. If you succeed, you do not inflict any damage but instead leave the battlefield. Otherwise, you remain engaged. The combat task is called Gain Ground. Combatants on the move can attempt to gain an advantage position against their foes, ambushing enemies or firing from an overlook. To do so, the acting player makes an athletics or scan roll as the main action for that round. On a successful roll, the attacker gains 1d on their next range attack, plus another for each success icon rolled. These bonus dice can be used on a ranged attack roll to escape from combat. Complications and advantages during combat. Consider the environment you're battling in and even reference the telling table to see if you have any advantageous ground or not. Or keep it simple as rolling a Gandalf for eye and awarding accordingly. Adversary actions. To make it easy on you as the solo player, assume the adversary is using the weapon best suited to the situation and depending on the stand you have taken for your hero. Generally choosing the best option to hit and to do the most damage, there's no holding back for the enemy. As for special damage options, use heavy blow special damage option unless there's something specific listed in the stat block. For their fell abilities, use it liberally. If there comes a time when spending the last point of hate or resolve, consult the telling table to see if the adversary chooses to do so. When commenting in Strider mode, remember that it's a continuation of telling the story of your player hero as they journey through the wilds. Sit back and think about the setting, the adversaries themselves, what prompted the combat in the first place, and consult the lore and telling table about their behavior, etc. And follow the rule of cool if all else fails. For councils and skill endeavors, the rules don't really deviate from what's presented in the core rulebook, and I go over those in other videos. When running a council with yourself in Strider mode, and somewhat a skill endeavor, reference the telling table about how the target of the counselor is responding to your player hero's actions, and so on. Note, it may be extremely difficult, as pointed out before, to even succeed in a council or skill endeavor when going solo, so you may have to find other ways to succeed in the parlay or skill endeavor by reducing beforehand the resistance of the council or the skill endeavor itself. Fellowship phase. There is no notable change to the fellowship phase as compared to group play. Continue as per the rules found in the core rulebook. The only thing is your choice of undertaking. You'll always be able to choose one undertaking as per normal, plus whatever additional undertaking is allowed per your calling, if you so choose. This is Strider mode, and I highly recommend anyone who's looking at either playing the One Ring as a player, and especially if you're wanting to run the game as a lore master, to pick up the Strider mode rules and give it a go solo. Try it out. I don't think you'll regret it. As mentioned, take a look at my Strider mode videos where I narrate the actions taken by Falco Hornblower as he leaves the safety of his home in Bree and adventures across Eriador. This narrative actual play is my take on Strider mode, and I'll cover how I play, think, and write my adventures. Strider mode is played as individually as the player playing it, so not one way is better or worse than the other. Half the fun of playing Strider mode is finding, well, that stride in role-playing and discovering the world of Middle-earth by yourself. If you have found this video helpful and you like the content I'm creating, please like, share, comment, and subscribe, as I produce more of the One Ring and other related content within the tabletop role-playing game universe. I'm Ryan of the North, and thank you for watching.